I remember the first time I told my family about my dream, about how I wanted to revolutionize farming using quantum energy. They looked at me like I'd just announced I was planning to fly to Mars in a homemade rocket. My father, with his thick hands and stern eyes, shook his head and said, "That's just nonsense. You're wasting your time. You're never going to amount to anything with that crazy talk." My mother's smile was tight, her voice cold. Quantum gardening? That's a fancy word for madness. You're embarrassing us. They weren't subtle about it. My siblings snickered behind my back, calling me the weird botanist, the dreamer who'd never make it. Every step I took in that field was met with skepticism, ridicule, and a quiet, relentless belief that I was fooling myself. I knew, deep down, they saw me as a failure destined to fail, someone who would never prove them wrong. But I couldn't let go. I had tasted something that felt true, something that resonated beyond what conventional science could explain. My research on quantum energy fields in plants wasn't just a hobby. It was my purpose. I poured every ounce of my soul into it, even when the world called me crazy. Then, betrayal struck. My own team, the very people I trusted, turned against me. They branded me a fraud, manipulated data, and publicly discredited my work. I was humiliated, cast aside as a charlatan. It felt like the ground beneath me had crumbled, and for a moment, I wondered if I'd been chasing shadows. But deep inside, I knew I hadn't been wrong. I just needed to go further, to prove that this wasn't madness, but a new way to heal the earth. I left the lab and retreated into solitude. I studied, experimented, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The ridicule only fueled my fire. I knew with unwavering certainty that my work could transform barren lands into lush, thriving ecosystems, if only I could harness the quantum energy correctly. Years passed. I dedicated myself to perfecting the technology, growing more resilient with each setback. The breakthrough came quietly, an experiment that yielded a patch of soil teeming with life where nothing had grown before. I watched in awe as plants responded to quantum fields, growing faster, healthier, more resilient than anything conventional farming could produce. And then the world caught up. My innovations revolutionized sustainable agriculture. I built quantum farms that turned deserts into gardens, degraded lands into forests. I became a pioneer, a leader, a symbol of hope for a planet on the brink. My work was recognized globally. I'd gone from the crazy botanist to a groundbreaking scientist, someone who had changed the way humanity sustains itself. But the real test came when I decided to go home. I returned to that small town, the place where my family still lived, where my childhood dreams had been dismissed as foolishness. I knew they'd see me differently now. I wanted them to see what their derision had almost cost me, and what I had become because I refused to give up. The day I arrived, I drove past the familiar streets, now lined with lush greenery that seemed almost surreal. The barren fields I remembered, those dusty, cracked expanses, had transformed into vibrant orchards and forests. I parked outside the house I'd left so long ago, heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. I stepped inside, and my family gathered in the living room, eyes wide with disbelief. My father's jaw tightened, and his eyes flicked away. uncertain. My mother's face was a mixture of shock and reluctant pride. My siblings stared at me as if I were a ghost come to life. Then I took a deep breath and spoke, voice steady but charged with emotion. You called me crazy. You said I'd fail. You told me, but look at what I've done. I proved that the impossible is just a challenge waiting to be overcome. This is what perseverance, belief, and refusing to listen to doubt can accomplish. I led them outside. The yard, once a patch of dry dirt, was now a lush, thriving landscape. Fruit trees hung heavy with ripe apples, wildflowers swayed in the breeze, and bees buzzed happily among the blossoms. It was a living testament to my work, a miracle born from what they had dismissed as madness. My father looked around, his face unreadable. Then he looked at me, really looked, and finally, a flicker of something softened in his eyes. I didn't understand, he said quietly. We thought you were chasing shadows. We thought you were wasting your life. But maybe you knew something we didn't. My mother's voice trembled as she said, We're sorry. We should have believed in you. We should have supported you. In that moment, I saw the weight of years lift from their shoulders, and from mine. I realized that the greatest victory wasn't just the science or the success. It was the redemption, the healing of broken trust, and the acknowledgement that sometimes the world needs to see the truth through the eyes of someone willing to endure everything for it. I turned back to my family, a smile breaking across my face. This is just the beginning. I want to show you that dreams, real, bold dreams, are worth fighting for. No matter how impossible they seem, they can become reality. Because I've learned that resilience isn't just about surviving. It's about transforming hardship into hope. As I stood there, surrounded by the home I'd once thought I'd lost forever, I understood something profound. The universe rewards those who refuse to give up, who push through ridicule and betrayal, and who believe in their purpose with unwavering faith. My journey from betrayal to breakthrough wasn't just about plants or quantum energy. It was about discovering my own strength, and in doing so, inspiring others to see their own potential. And in that moment, I knew I'd never let anyone define my limits again. I'd become my own proof, and that was the greatest success of all.